why. My name is Jillian, and today we're going to be going through how to do the pose Balasana, or child's pose. So child's pose is a restorative or resting pose. It's one where we come down to rest in between other poses. Sometimes it's just nice to hang out in child's pose. So you might want to have a couple props with you today. I have a blanket and a block, and I'll show you how to use these as we go through how to get yourself into child's pose. So I'm going to swing myself around onto hands and knees to begin. And sometimes people like to place a blanket on their mat to give themselves a little bit of extra padding under the knees. So that could be nice here. So we're going to begin in tabletop. And from here you have two choices in how you'd like to place your legs. Okay, so the first choice is to keep your knees directly underneath your hips and your feet tracking out back behind the legs, straight back. So that's choice number one. Choice number two is to bring the big toes to touch and then bring the knees nice and wide. So those are your two choices of where you can place your knees and your legs in child's pose. Once you figured out where you want to have your knees and your legs, we're going to start to press our hips back toward our heels. So the hips come down toward the heels. You're pressing yourself backward. Okay. So whether you have the knees wide or the knees close, you're still just pressing the hips down toward the heels. And you may not be able to come all the way down, and that's okay. So if you need to be up a little bit off of your heels, that's fine. Another option is to use a block, and this can be useful if you don't have super flexible knees and you also want to rest a lot in this pose. So you can take a block and put it underneath your hips and sit on it. So your knees are not bent as much then, but you're still getting a lot of support back behind you. Okay. Another option would be to take a blanket and put that behind your knees on top of your calves, and then you can just sit down onto the blanket. So it lifts your hips up a little bit more, but you still have that support behind you. Okay. So those are kind of some options and ways that you can use some props behind you to help lift your hips up. All right. So we're pressing our hips back toward our heels, and then our chest is going to start to come down toward the floor. So you have your arms stretched out long in front of you, your chest comes down toward the floor, and then you even start to bring your forehead down to the floor as well. This is another good spot to use a prop. So if you want to, you can take a block and place it in front of you, and then just gently begin to bring your head down toward the block, instead of bringing it all the way down toward the mat. You have a lot of different options in your block and how far you want to place it so that you have different height options for your head. Bringing our attention now to our arms. So we have the feet, the legs, the hips, the chest, and even the head. Let's think about arms. So arms can be stretched out nice and long. That's one way to think about child's pose. But if you want to kind of make it a little bit more restful, you can bend the elbows and just rest your body down. Sometimes you might see people even bring their arms back behind them. So they may be in this pose with their arms just resting at their sides. So you have some different options for where you place your arms, and you can even use some props to help make this pose a little bit more comfortable for you. But again, Balasana, child's pose, is supposed to be a restful pose. So you need to try and make it as comfortable for you as possible and listen to your body and do what works for you. I hope you learned a lot about Balasana today, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Namaste.